Hey there, everybody. Thanks for joining me for another one-man review. Today will be a different type of content than I normally talk about. This is the collection of Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley's run on Hulk. And this was sent to me by Vitas Pavlidis as part of like a care package he sent. Vitas buys tons and tons and tons of books, supports tons and tons of Kickstarters. Obviously, this isn't a Kickstarter, but Vitas is someone who pours tons and tons of money into supporting comics. And then he gets so many books that like he runs out of space, and so he kind of sifts through some of the ones he's not as interested in keeping and send them around. And every now and then he'll send me a package, which is always really appreciated. And this time Vitas sent just gold, gold, gold all the way through. I love Ryan Ottley's work, so I'm really excited to look at this. I've not seen when he went over to Marvel, I looked at the Spider-Man first couple issues he did, and I did not like the art in that. I didn't something lost when he moved over to Marvel from Invincible, and I think I know what it is now after looking at this book. Also, I think I need to give that Spider-Man run a second chance. And then Donny Cates is a writer that I was really pumped for. Back in 2017, 2018, something like that. He had a book come out through Image. I forget what it was called. It was a guy with the big sword. It was this really like heartfelt story about dealing with a family member with dementia, but then it had all this like big god swords and shit in it. So I was really excited about Donny Cates, and I felt like as he moved to Marvel, his stuff just devolved into like what a 12-year-old would write, or like what I wanted when I was 12, which is fine. That's I think what superhero comics should be, and we need more of that. But it just wasn't. It just didn't have that same connection to like something emotional that he had in some of his earlier work. After reading this, I'm thinking maybe I judged Donny Cates too quickly and too harshly. I think when he has a longer time to play these things out, that greater emotional weight comes in later in the stories. And that's the case in this book. So, in the same way that I need to give Ottley's Spider-Man another chance, I think I need to go back and look at some of the Donny Cates longer runs. Especially, I know he's been doing a really long run through the Marvel Universe with a lot of different characters, making up characters and stuff that I had written off. I think I might need to go back and check that out again after looking at this book. So, before I even start flipping through, I mean, first off, we start off with MODOK, and MODOK is totally, no one cares what he's saying anyways. So, for a hilarious first page, great Ryan Ottley art right out the gate. Super stoked about it. This book is, and this review is going to be saturated in the childish part of this book. My comment about Donny Cates writing like a 12-year-old still stands, except now that I've seen that he's still putting that other stuff in there, and I got a sense of how well he does the 12-year-old stuff because I've stuck with it. It's really fun and really enjoyable, and I'll show you. Like the thing that I saw is like the he was putting like venom on everybody, right? Like, or the cosmic Ghost Rider. What if I took Punisher and like killed him and turned him into a Ghost Rider? Like that kind of 12-year-old shit. This book is saturated in that, and that's what I'm going to show you because I had so much fun reading this. I think it hit me right at the time, like where I needed something kind of light and silly and stupid, anyways. So that's what I'm going to talk about in the book. It's gonna seem like super spoilerly, so I will say, like, if you want to read this and you don't want the big like action moments spoiled for you, don't watch this video. But in the sense that there is some really, really awesome writing about people dealing with a traumatic childhood, rage, anger, all these very serious subjects, I'm not going to talk about that because I think that is an amazing part of this book that is still there for a reader who's seen like every kind of major twist and turn on the surface of it all the 12-year-old, like can Hulk punch Galactus through the wall, like that kind of stuff. That's the less important stuff. It's what Donny Cates is plastering all over the place to get the readers in. But by the end of the book, he has said something very serious. So I'm not going to talk about the writing at all, really, other than saying it's great. Go buy the book and read it. I just want to revel in Ryan Ottley's art and just all the big absurd moments that Donny Cates wrote in here and that Ottley pulled off so well. I also want to talk a little bit about what that reaction was when Ottley went over to Marvel and went to Spider-Man, I just, for whatever reason, didn't like his art anymore. It looked like he was all of a sudden drawing digitally. I've realized now that that's just how Ryan Ottley inks when he inks himself, and I had gotten so used to Cliff Rathburn inking him on in Invincible, and Cliff Rathburn is a phenomenal artist on his own. Now that I've seen his own work a few more times over the years. B, and I think he has a book coming out now. I've seen some images of. B, seeing Ottley inking himself and seeing where Rathburn comes in and knowing Rathburn's own style, I realize how much of what I like about Invincible is actually the inking by Rathburn. Now, that's not a knock on Ottley. Ottley is still providing the structure for all these wonderful. I still think he's one of, if not the best superhero penciler ever. Like, I think Invincible is the best superhero book ever, some of the best superhero art ever. But the polish that I like is Rathburn, and Rathburn adds a lot. And you can see that in this. This is a Ryan Ottley inked issue. The lines are thicker, fuzzier. They look more like to me, this is what I see when Ryan Ottley inks. Ryan Ottley inks and then goes back in and creates line weight. I'm guessing he inks all with tech pens like this. And so he creates line weight by drawing the line and filling it in. I don't know how Rathburn inks. Maybe he inks the same way, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like he's inking with a brush to me, because his lines are so clean. Maybe a dip pen, because they can get so thin. But he has big, thick, slick, juicy lines that really work for Ottley's art. So I think Ottley, great penciler. Not that his inks are bad, but Rathburn's a significantly better finisher. And Ottley's stuff is just a little gummed up looking to me. And he's doing a lot of reductive drawing with white. So I'm imagining he's got like a white gel pen or something that he's doing a lot of removal of value with. And I'm not that big of a fan of that look in general. And there's a lot of it in there. So when I first opened this up, it was like, no, Ottley's still something wrong when he went to Marvel. But Cliff Rathburn does ink the majority of it. And it's pretty obvious, like, between the two. And like I said, if you look at Rathburn's own art, then you'll really see how much he has been bringing to the table in anything that he inks of Ottley. It's kind of like Jim Lee and Scott Williams. No one's sitting there saying like Jim Lee's a shit artist, but like Scott Williams inking over Jim Lee looks better than Jim Lee inking over Jim Lee. Like, that's the look we all love. So right out the gate, we get the premise. I'll give you that much. Like, Bruce Banner is tired. He's a scientist. He wants to go explore the world, and he's been trapped because he's the Hulk, and he's never got to do what he wants. So he turns the Hulk into a giant spaceship that he can pilot the body from inside his psyche, and he's going to go on an adventure. He's going to go, like, actually see the cosmos and live the scientific life he wanted with the protection of the Hulk body. And there's also a question asked at the beginning of the series, which I think is pretty wise. What if Hulk was here to protect us from Banner? You know, Banner is the one with the problems. He's the one that has the rage. Maybe him let loose with the power of the Hulk is more dangerous. So those are kind of the general themes that Cates is exploring throughout the series. You also get some sense of the motivation for Bruce Banner is that he's not immortal, but the Hulk is. So he's worried that the more times he spends as Banner, the more he's just going to give over to Hulk, and what happens when I die. So there's like a ticking time clock on his need to go live his life the way he's wanted to. Then we get this series gives, Donny Cates is throwing everything at Ryan Ottley, giving him the chance to draw as much of the Marvel Universe as possible. We get another look at Ottley's Spider-Man, which, again, I still really don't like, which surprised me. I thought he was going to be an amazing Spider-Man artist. I'm going to have to go look at the Cliff Rathburn ink stuff, but very chunky, very strange. Like, I don't know, he just deals with those kind of thin characters better than that usually. But maybe it really is just his inking that turned me off to that Spider-Man run. And honestly, like, the classic superhero costumes just don't work as well for his art as when he's allowed to design his own stuff. When you get to see the design of Spaceship Hulk, Starship Hulk, it's a little bit more like, that you've got the tech stuff and the things that really makes Ottley's work sing. And here you can see again, like Ottley is one of the best action pencilers in the world, and his inking's not bad either. So as I keep coming back to the difference between the two, it's not that I'm saying this is bad stuff. It's just I find Cliff Rathburn to be something about what he does is very appealing to me. Super. So at this point, I'm just going to just show all the fun, stupid, gnarly stuff. I mean, of course, there's a ton of other stuff I'm not showing, but anything that like kicked the inner 12-year-old in me and it made me say, fuck yeah, that's cool, I put a sticky note on it. So we're going to look just a lot of cool pictures. Hulk ripping his own arm out. It's a badass drawing. A really kind of fun thing here where these characters come in. The Hulk has entered, and so we're in Marvel, obviously in the Marvel universe, but Hulk has entered the between space, which is pretty much Warren Ellis's bleed space. And then this character here, which again looks much more like a Ryan Ottley design with that big mustache and whatnot. He's saying, we're here on the behalf of the Alternate Universe Timeline Hazard Operations Response and Intervention Team. Obviously, they're spelling out an acronym for the Authority. So it's really, really funny to see. I don't know why they decided to do that, but Donny Cates wanted to throw in the Authority, and that was a pretty fun joke. One of the important things to understand just about how the story works and where a lot of these wild images are coming from, what Donny Cates has built into the story to allow himself these kinds of 12-year-old moments, is that to make the spaceship Hulk work, Banner has trapped the Hulk part of the psyche in a simulation, and the more power is needed for the spaceship, the more intense the simulation gets. So this is like stage 2 of 10, and then the matter Hulk gets, so the bigger the spaceship body gets, and then the Banner brain kind of controlling from the executive center can take advantage of the power that Hulk is generating from his anger down here. As we get into this issue, we've now got Cliff Rathburn back on inks, and you can see that the artwork just has a little bit of a crisper pop to it. Some of the stranger, lumpier things on the edge get dealt with in a way that makes it look not so lumpy because there's a fluidity in the change of the line weight. The lines themselves are very clean because there's obviously some brush in here somewhere. I don't know if it's all that Rathburn uses to ink, but it's a very slick, crisp brush, and or maybe 102 here and there. But there's a lot of dry brush too, which isn't something that Ottley's getting because Ottley's obviously working just with markers. So there's a lot of real beautiful dry brush stuff, and then just a little bit more control over how the lines pile on top of each other to create grays. There are still some areas where there's some reductive drawing with white, but it's much less, and because of that, it works a lot better. So Rathburn just really understands how to create like a certain type of crisp contrast that appeals to me a lot. So you could see that as soon as you kick into the second issue, and seeing the difference between the two, which is like this early stuff, which looked like maybe it was someone drawing on a computer or adjusting pencils, that fuzzy look that Ottley's own inks that turned me off on the Spider-Man stuff. I've seen that there's a lot of inking by Rathburn on the Spider-Man, so I need to go look at that now. But continuing on to just the big, stupid 12-year-old stuff, like one of the rooms is Hulk has to fight a giant Wolverine. Who's going to complain about that? That's cool. And then, like, Hulk's going to kill Wolverine with his own blade and shove it down his throat. That's what a lot of this is. Just super fun things like that. Like here you see, just have the Hulk jump and have Wolverine's own blades right down his giant face. This page here kind of sets up something that's important later on. These are called the Abominations. And there's an alternate universe Bruce Banner who's been shunting these things off into some void space or something like that. They'll play a role later. This is a really nice big spread also. Like you can compare like a spread from this to the spreads in issue 1, and you'll see what I'm talking about the artwork just having a little bit like it's a little more definition. It's a little easier to see what everything is, and some of the texture work, which again I associated with Ottley, and a lot of it is, but a lot of this like textural guts work that I've always liked in Ottley stuff some of the quality of that is actually coming from the inks quite a bit. And this right here is really cool because they have a Ryan Ottley sketch cover of the Hulk, and you can see him inking himself, and it looks a lot like I was saying, you have the Jim Lee Scott Williams thing. This inking style, I mean, even the drawing itself looks to me almost like the Jim Lee sketch cards, the old X-Men sketch cards, where he was obviously drawing with just like a marker and some Sharpies and stuff. Very similar quality in art, in pose, and the way the hatching's used. And so it really is another good thing a reader could look at to see more of what I'm talking about, like seeing that art stripped out without even the color over it. Then I don't know, you'd have to look up online to see some Cliff Rathburn inks, I think. But comparing this to Jim Lee and comparing then to like Jim Lee with Scott Williams, I think would also be educational. And that's why I'm talking about this stuff. It's my preference, the slicker stuff on this art in particular. On Jim Lee, oftentimes I actually like Jim Lee a little better, a little grittier sometimes. Not always. So it's just something, especially for artists who are developing, to try and hone that fine tune of a sense about like those things. That's important to learn these things and to tell the difference between when different artists are working on top of each other, why that line on top of, like, why this type of line work on this type of form is not appealing to me as that type of line work on the same type of form. Those are all very useful questions. Some fun here just with alternate universes that's just given an excuse to like blow up Cyclops' head and things like that. We're at stage 4 of the Hulk's internal engine. Here is the Marvel Zombies universe. Again, really just giving Ryan Ottley a reason to go through and draw every cool thing that's ever existed in the Marvel universe. I mean, he got to draw Fing Fang Foom and all the monsters. And then we get to like the even more intense 12th grade stuff, where now we have a Peter Parker that was bit by a gamma radiated spider. And so we get like Hulk Venom Spider-Man or something like that. And I feel like that's pretty typical of what Donny Cates is doing, is like the combine. It's like as a kid, it's like, what happens if Wolverine gets a Venom suit? And then me and my friends would sit there, and what happens if Hulk gets a Venom suit? And we'd sit there and draw that. There's a lot of that throughout this book, and that in a really good way. Normally I'd complain about it, but in this it's really well done. So that's, again, just giving Ottley a chance to design his way through the Marvel universe while also drawing all of the classics. Fucking genius story structure when you've got an artist like this. And then to put it in, and to build in this thing, where you can put him in this simulated environment, or you can put it in the real world to get away with whatever you want to get away with. Is super clever. And then to pack in some real meaning at the end of it all is extra special. But yeah, stage 5 is the gods. So you get a sense of how much left there is to go to get to 10. Stage 6, demons. I'm not even familiar with all these. Who the hell is this guy? Is that a character? Actual Marvel character? So now we're on this planet that's filled with the abominations. Hulk has shown up on this other planet, and he's going to get to fight some abominations. Good chance for Ottley to design a bunch more monsters. That causes them to jump the engine up to stage 9, which is like galactic, cosmic level threats. Galactus level. And right here, you get some really nice textural stuff going on in the inking. A lot of like spray to make that Phoenix put a glow on Galactus. Some more Donny Cates doing exceptionally clever 12-year-old writing. He's like, so many people have turned into Hulk by this point. It seems like Hulk isn't Bruce Banner's anger. It's just everyone has a Hulk in him. And then he says, well, who's the Hulk's Hulk? Does the Hulk have a Hulk? So then we get to meet Hulk's Hulk here. This guy's name is Titan. Kind of a Jim Lee looking-ish design there, too. That's interesting. I never really thought about Ryan Ottley and Jim Lee. Then Hulk gets mad and gets out. These two images, beautiful. All throughout this, they're sticking in variant covers that went through the series. There's a bunch of them in the back, too. This one's by Tradd Moore. Tradd Moore's, Tradd Moore. Always excited for new Tradd Moore. Too bad he's so slow, but it's always worth the wait. And this is such a different look for him. It's just like, okay, every time he comes out with something new, he's pushed it in a million different directions, and he's pushing some more. Love it. The Hulk story is kind of interrupted by a collaborative run with Thor. It's still part of the Hulk story, and it seems probably really disruptive to the Thor story. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go read Donny Cates' Thor now, I guess, too. Is he doing? He must be doing a run on Thor. But in this one, we basically just got Hulk and Thor are put on a battle planet, and they're just put to battle against each other for a number of issues. These are mostly illustrated by a Martin Kokolo, I believe is how you pronounce it, or Kukolo, Martin Kukolo. Some really nice art, less stylized than Ottley's stuff. It's a little more like leaning towards realism. Much less use of thick line weight, a lot thinner line. It feels a lot like Oliver Coipel's stuff on Thor. And I think Russell Dowderman was the person who did the Jason Aaron stuff. It just kind of feels like how Thor's been being drawn for a while. Yeah, a lot of that Oliver or Olivier Coipel stuff going on there. So really cool art. And then, yeah, again, 12-year-old stuff. It's like we're gonna finally solve this question of who could beat who, Hulk or Thor, and put it in a video game context. Give it a big ass 2-page spread, and yeah, Martin Kokolo's turning in some badass art too. So. More standard superhero art, but obviously someone who's doing it very well. Like just this sequence here, writing Thor, pick up your hammer. And that comes after Hulk has finally, Thor's pinned him down, and he's like, Hulk, we've done this before, you can't get up. And this newly enraged Banner Hulk is like, nah, fuck that, and it just pulls his own guts out. Thor, pick up your hammer. Hey. That's some badass writing. That's like 300 level, back when Frank Miller could really write shit like that too. Throughout the whole series, there's been references to an incident in El Paso, Texas, and this is kind of showing that, where Banner loses his shit, and you do get to see that Banner is even more dangerous than the Hulk. It's pretty gnarly, intense page there too, like the composition. Some more 12-year-olds, let's just mash things up. Now we've got Iron Man building a Hulkbuster suit out of the remains of a Celestial. Yeah, perfect 12-year-old writing, and it's badass. And then we find out what happens if we get Hulk Thor versus Hulk. So more 12-year-old awesome. And again, badass art, really good stuff. And then Donny Cates goes the other way and makes, instead of a Hulk Thor, he makes a Thor Hulk. So now I guess Odin's in the hammer, and Odin could talk like an AI, even though he's dead, and he's not happy with what Thor's doing. So now he declares Hulk worthy. Now we have Hulk Thor and Thor Hulk. Of course, unleashing Thor Hulk on the world is no bueno. You see him here unrooting Zadrigal itself. This is how cosmically large all of this gets. In the next back to straight Starship Hulk storyline after the battle with Thor is over, we get Banner having split his personality further into further subdivisions to manage a bunch of different tasks. And it's pretty obvious that this is not going to go well for him. We're back with Ottley on pencils and Rathburn on inks. So art's killing it. Colorist is killing it. All looks awesome. We get some very Walt Simonson type designs here. We go to this strange world, which happens to be where all the abominations have been being dumped. So now this is a world built by abominations and worshiping the Hulk. So you can see there's a big statue. I know there was a Planet Hulk story too. I never read that, but this is really like Planet Hulk. This is a planet that Hulk is who they worship and everything. And it's in this later chunk where you really start to get Donny Cates doing some exceptional writing of the sort that was what I was hopeful about him in the first place. And this is why I said, it took this long of just persisting through mostly 12-year-old writing, really well done, really clever, like Celestial, Hulkbuster, Iron Man is a great idea, but it didn't have as much of this stuff. So I want to give you a little bit of a hint of like the actual kind of really good writing that Donny Cates is bringing to this. This is going back to now Bruce Banner as a young kid, and she's just saying like he's like, I'm weak, these other kids beat me up, like I'm such a weakling, obviously, with his damage his abusive dad has done, and his mom's like, put your arm out, casts a shadow on the ground, and she spends this time telling him like the physics of light, how long it takes the light to get from the sun to here. And then she says, that's your shadow, you made that. Do you know what that means? It means that the most powerful thing in our galaxy, the sun, the strongest thing ever in the galaxy, burned through 93 million miles to get to that sidewalk, only to be stopped by you. That's damn good writing to be couched in a book that's otherwise about celestial Hulkbusters, And the further it gets towards the end of the book, the more of that there is. So as much as it seems like I'm spoiling all these big moments, I really think there's a lot to be found in this book yet. And then here towards the end, I'm going to start jumping over a lot of the big action scenes and whatnot. I think I've given you a pretty good taste of what this is all about. But you can see that the action just keeps on. The collaboration between Ottley and Rathburn continues to be fire. It's just these gigantic, like, Hulk statue head being tossed. So when I started reading this, I was like, I just like Ottley's art, and I'm just going to read it. And, I've enjoyed some Kate stuff, so I'll give it a try. And pretty quickly got sucked in, was having a hard time putting it down to pick it back up the next day because it's pretty long. Was really, really surprised by this. Enjoyed it. I thought I was going to enjoy it, but that I wouldn't do a review on it or whatever. But yeah, I couldn't help it. I really enjoyed it. So a recommendation of a mainstream book that actually has some weight and some really great art, and there's just a lot of stupid fun along the way. So do yourself a favor, go check this out. I'm gonna have to shore up my Donny Cates holes because he got me.